This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shoshana Wolf-Farquharson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping the news, Hurricane Dorian still making the news. The monster storm unleashed fury in North Carolina after wreaking havoc throughout the northern Bahamas. Tonight, we continue our coverage of the impact of Hurricane Dorian. Well, we begin with the Grand Bahama Health Services taking a whipping during the storm. Tonight, the Deputy Prime Minister and health officials are talking about the issues of concern at this time. The Deputy Prime Minister, along with other government officials as well as hospital officials, took a tour of the Rand Memorial Hospital on Friday afternoon. Hospital Administrator Sharon Williams says the hospital functioned under extreme circumstances during Hurricane Dorian. She says the hospital was flooded and they took in a number of persons from the Pro-Cathedral of Christ the King shelter, but the administrator says that could not be possible without the staff members.
They would have worked in those extreme situations, those flooding, even though we were waist deep in water, to make sure that we secure all of the patients that we had. And that would have been 40 plus inpatient and 127 special needs patients and their families.
Did you have electricity during the time of the storm?
We would have at some point had electricity very early in the storm, and then our generator kicked in and worked perfectly until the flood came in and flooded out the generators. So then, of course, we were on our batteries and searchlights and everything, and they still worked efficiently. Water receded a bit, then our staff would have gotten the generator working for us again.
About medical records?
Our medical records was underwater. When I said the medical records department, the majority of our records were salvaged because as the storm was coming in, our staff were moving those records to higher grounds as we had done for the clinic areas.
She says the U.S. Coast Guard transported one baby and 5 other patients to Nassau. She's asking all persons who visit the hospital to be patient and adds that the hospital clinic is open and other facilities.
Dr. Forbes would have offered his facility, so if persons are hearing that the pavilion is available for free services, yes, it is, in conjunction with Grand Bahama Health Services. He has offered to open his service for free to the public for about a week in the first instance, and then we will assess to see where we have gotten in terms of opening up additional space. We have our OB patients and our babies at the Sunrise Medical, so we're using the facility. We do have a disaster plan in Grand Bahama when this hospital is impaired, that most of the facilities offer their assistance without any concern that we can mobilize services to our public.
Now the Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable K. Peter Turnquist, says he is heartbroken to see the hospital in the condition that it is in.
There's going to be some very specialized work that needs to be done, and we have to evaluate what that is and how, whether those expertise exist on the island or whether we have to import persons to have that happen, so that we have a safe operating facility here to receive patients. We also have to assess the equipment needs because obviously some of it would have been compromised by the water that would have come through. And so this is really right now is a process of trying to determine exactly where we are, what is the need, and then identifying the resources to fix that or to address that need. You mentioned that we had some volunteers that came through. We certainly do have some volunteers from the U.S., and we are certainly grateful for them for having thought of us to come over and to partner with us. There are some records licensing issues that we need to deal with in respect to that, but nonetheless we're putting them to work helping with the system here to ensure that everybody can get attended to as efficiently as possible. And we certainly want to thank all of our international partners for coming in and helping us both in terms of physical manpower as well as medicines and other goods and services which we desperately need at this time. So again, the facility itself is a very aged facility. We in Grand Bahama know that this facility needed to be replaced in any case. I think what we see here now just gives us the more urgent impetus to ensure that we move forward plans for a new hospital here in Grand Bahama.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News. And some good news in store for Grand Bahama in the midst of Hurricane Dorian. Our Jay Philippe explains.
Carnival Cruise Line is stepping up in a major way to assist Bahamians in Grand Bahama and Abaco that were impacted by Hurricane Dorian. Carnival's Vice President of Global Port and Destination Development, Giora Israel, says that the company has engaged with multi-level relief efforts as it relates to immediate assistance for residents. He says one of the priorities is medical emergency assistance.
Partner with Direct Relief, which is the world's largest medical relief company in the world. They're working for over 100 countries. And with them, we directed them to come here. They are working on their own with the chief medical officer in Nassau and have committed on that effort. And they already have people on the ground in Abaco, $8 million. We have additionally added, Mr. Harrison and his wife added another $1 million to this effort and then some. And we are working, and the first thing we had all the most important medical supply your hospital here in Grand Bahamas asked for. Direct Relief already sent relief to Abaco, Marsh Harbor, and they have a person on the ground who landed with a helicopter and started helping people in Marsh Harbor.
Israel says Carnival has also entered into a venture with the government of the Bahamas and NEMA that will assist Bahamians from Grand Bahama and Abaco.
As long as there are the list of what NEMA wants, to allow it to be delivered to Tropical Shipping and Carnival Corporation, in cooperation with Tropical, we will pay for all these shipments of all these organizations, regardless who they are. And we have started working with all those organizations, whether it's Dade County, FIU, in Florida, in Broward County, in Palm Beach County, and in other states to bring the material. The rules are simple. It goes to the Bahamas, and it will go based on NEMA, either to Abaco or to Grand Bahama. We will always send what NEMA wants on the list, and we'll take care of it. In West Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade County, we will actually pick it up wherever you are. You want to give a donation of material. We're not collecting money. Money will be collected or donated in other ways that are already established. We are collecting from these people to allow them, because their logistics is the most important.
He also said Carnival is prepared to help in the area of housing.
We want to help in temporary housing, housing repair, or things like that. And Marie will take that on in cooperation, of course, with the needs of the community, what is most needed.
The Minister of State for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Kwesi Thompson, echoed his gratitude from Carnival for their commitment.
First of all, we want to say thank you. They've confirmed their partnership, they've confirmed their commitment to Grand Bahama today, and so we really want to say how much we appreciate that. We are very pleased that they've also confirmed their commitment to the cruise port. I think that message is essential for the island of Grand Bahama. It is essential really for the relief, it's essential for the recovery, it's essential for the comeback. And so that message is one that I think all Grand Bahamians would take note of, all Grand Bahamians would be pleased about.
Carnival is also expected to assist in ensuring the Grand Bahama shipyard is operable because it creates jobs for many Grand Bahamians, as well as it creates additional help and support for the Grand Bahamian economy. I'm Jay Philippe, ZNS Network News.
Meantime, Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama giving an assessment of the damage in communities in his constituency. East Grand Bahama was hit hard by Hurricane Dorian. Some communities destroyed, residents displaced, and there are several reports of deaths in that district. Tonight, Italia Hall speaks to the MP for an update. Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable K. Peter Turnquest says there are two issues in East Grand Bahama physical destruction, as well as psychological trauma that the government must address.
In terms of the physical infrastructure, basically from, I would say, High Rock going east has basically been leveled. There's really no real inhabitable homes in that area. The roads themselves have been cut in half, basically. Persons may know the Lucaya National Park. There's basically a river running through the road. As you go onto the High Rock front road or the beach road, it's been completely washed away. So High Rock itself is just separated into two portions. So there's tremendous infrastructure needs. There's tremendous recovery needs for the residents in those areas, because right now some of them are homeless. We don't know how we're going to address that issue. Is one of the things. I'm going back to Nassau today to see if how we can address those things in terms of accommodations, because we're obviously going to have to set up some kind of temporary accommodations, whether that is putting them in the hotel, whether it's putting them in some of the homes that have been foreclosed or whatever. We can make arrangements with the various banks and Resolve Corporation and all these that may have properties that are not being utilized at the moment, see if we can put them in some of these properties, assuming that they haven't been flooded either, because we've had tremendous flooding here in the city. And so we are doing an assessment just to see what is available. Failing all of that, then we're going to have to consider a tent city.
He says the recovery process will not happen overnight, and residents must be patient. Now the nation's leader, the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, confirmed that there are 30 deaths between Grand Bahama and Abaco, and he expects the death toll to increase. As it relates to East Grand Bahama, Turnquest says there are a number of persons still missing, and rescue crews are still out searching for them.
Assistant Commissioner is leading a team out to McLeanstown today to do some investigations in that area and recover whatever needs to be recovered. And so we will continue to do that until we are satisfied that we have addressed all of the areas that are of concern, that we've recovered all of those souls who want to be removed from those situations, because again, as I say, there is no, very little living accommodations in those areas, certainly no services. And so we will recover whoever wants to be recovered and bring them back to the city and help them to adjust as best we can in these difficult times.
The finance minister says moving ahead, special focus must be directed to jump-starting the economy once again.
Because we know from past experiences that if we do not get the economy going back quickly, that people will start to get discouraged and they will leave the island, and that is going to make the situation even worse. So we are working very hard to get commerce going again. The banks, hopefully next week, certainly by midweek next week, the banks should be open. The restaurants and the retail operations ought to be able to get back to work, and we can start to see some sense of normalcy in as much as that is possible at this particular stage. In fact, many of you may know that the Carnival Cruise Port was supposed to sign their agreement, the heads of agreement, yesterday. We've pushed that off a little bit because of all that is going on. But just this morning, they have committed again that as soon as we are ready, they are prepared. They are on the ground and they are making significant, tangible monetary and physical goods contributions to the island. They have teams on the ground that are working with the tour operators and the hoteliers and all of those activities providers that supply them to ensure that they are up and running. They are going to provide, they're willing to provide support to those entities to make sure that they get up and running, and they are committed to bringing ships as soon as possible. So commerce will start here again very, very shortly. Royal Caribbean, the same way. Been wonderful, wonderful partners, more than we can ask for, and we're very grateful that they have given the commitment that the projects that we are working on will continue. Our other partners, similarly, all have come online. The shipyard, Borco, the farming camp, all of them have come on to say that we are here. We're committed to Grand Bahama, we're not going anywhere, and we're committed to getting going as soon as possible. So we believe that as soon as power is on and the water is back on, that we'll start to see the activity here on the island and we can get back to some sense of normalcy.
It's Halia Hall, ZNS Network News. Well, residents of Grand Bahama touched by Hurricane Dorian accepting an invitation to board a ship and get out of their hurricane-ravaged communities. Our Jamila Mizik was at the harbor this morning where hundreds stood in line waiting to leave this island.
And Hundreds of Grand Bahama residents attempting to leave the islands by boat after the complete devastation of Hurricane Dorian. Now, many of these residents say they've been out here as early as 4 a.m. and lines have only been getting longer. Now, when asked why they decided to leave the island at this time, many of them say they're just looking for a sign of relief.
For the morning, I probably already seen about maybe 400 people, I think. That's what I think.
Trying to get on.
Because the first, we were out here from 4 o'clock and I started making a list over there. And I think I had about 200 people on that list. And we probably have another 200 or so people here waiting just to get put on the list. For me, I have a few of my friends in the States. They want to send me and my family some stuff. And so I want to go over there and be able to get those things and bring them back to help my family. Because I know there are a lot of organizations out there trying to help the whole island. But sometimes you get lost in between that. At this time, I need to make sure that I look for my family and maybe some of the people in my community. So I'm looking forward to going over here and maybe traveling back and forth to help as much people as I can get some stuff for themselves as well, along with myself.
We just ready to come off this island. We need to get the children off the island because it's a disaster. You know, it's hurtful. And then he traumatized a lot. You know, he's wake up seeing water on the floor, on the ground, you know, and as Bahamians, we need to be civilized. All of us going through this, all of us hurting. We just got to learn to be civilized in this. You know, we was out there from 4 o'clock. I just want the babies them off the island because they can't take what the adults could take. You know, all the Bahamians, just be civilized. Everywhere you go is a line to toe. Just please be civilized, man. God bring us through this. So if he bring us through this, we could go through this.
We came to visit a friend with stage 4 cancer and we got stuck on the storm. But thank God we made it. So we here to get back home. We survived. We was with a good family and they took us in, as always, when we come. So it was good. No water, no lights. That was hard for a week.
Did you ever experience anything like this?
Never. And to hear the people, some of the people I knew died, but it was sad. It was just too much for me. I'm breathing hard now. I don't want to say nothing else. I'm good.
I've experienced a hurricane. I knew we would be safe. I feel bad for the people of the island that lost everything. I was more fortunate than most. My friend owns the shipping company, and I have family members that are here and in the Bahamas and in Nassau. We're going to all help, yes.
Now, this resident says he returned to Grand Bahama to assist his family in restoration efforts.
I'm happy to be back home. Why I came back, my family's here. And like any Bahamian, you want to help your family, and that's what I wanted. I want to come back, see what's going on, help my family, and put their minds at rest, and put likewise my mind at rest. My house, regardless of what the condition is, I know I can fix it because it's just concrete, wood, but the lives of Bahamians and my family is most important to me. That's why I want to come back. This is home. No question in my mind I wanted to come back.
Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
Meantime, Bahamas Air advising the public that they resumed service into Treasure Cay, Abaco yesterday and commenced emergency relief flights into Marsh Harbor today. Bahamas Air also advising residents that they have resumed service into Marsh Harbor and Freeport. Now, the scheduled times are as follows. Bahamas Air departs Nassau for Marsh Harbor at 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. and they depart Marsh Harbor for Nassau at 9 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Bahamas Air departs Nassau for Freeport at 10:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. and leaves Freeport for Nassau at 12:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. Now, we wish to further advise that we will continue relief flights into Treasure Cay for the immediate future and have added a third rotation schedule as follows. Departing Nassau for Treasure Cay at 3 p.m. and leaving Treasure Cay for Nassau at 4:45 p.m. Flights from all locations are free, and persons wishing to secure passage from Abaco are advised to report to the Marsh Harbor or Treasure Cay airports. Now, in the case of Freeport, passengers are asked to register with the city ticket office in the Culmersville Plaza daily, and that time is from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. The public also being reminded that these are relief flights and they're not scheduled flights, therefore they cannot be booked through their reservations system. Flights, therefore they Meantime, Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines will assist Grand Bahama further with one-way transportation to Nassau via Empress of the Seas on Saturday, September 7th, Sunday, September 8th, and Monday, September 9th. All interested persons must register at the C.A. Smith building with a government-issued ID, and that's between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Now, you are also being asked to only prepare and pack essential items necessary to travel. Meanwhile, a cabin and meals are provided. And a press statement from the Ministry of Financial Services, Trade and Industry, as well as Immigration. And it says that they are presently experiencing a humanitarian crisis in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian, and strict instructions have been given to the Immigration Department that their concentration is on assisting with the humanitarian efforts to rescue and save lives regardless of place of origin, nationality, or immigration status. Further, they say that while they are obligated to and will continue to secure the borders, all domestic apprehension exercises in the affected areas are suspended. The ministry is also inviting all in the community to assist as best as they can with these humanitarian efforts that are now underway. And some good news tonight from the Grand Bahama Power Company. Chief Operating Officer of the Grand Bahama Power Company giving an update on restoring service to residents of Grand Bahama after Hurricane Dorian. He says 2 power plants have taken on an enormous amount of salt water, and they are working tirelessly to have this issue rectified. In addition, he says 85% of the power lines and poles are still intact, and some businesses and residents living in areas that did not receive extensive flood damage should have their power restored as early as next week. Definitely good news there. Meantime, Grand Bahama Utilities informing the public that the water supply will be turned on this evening, but the water supply can only be used for sanitation purposes, and get this, it's not for consumption. They're also encouraging consumers to conserve water to last for a minimum of 5 days. They say that they will also continue to provide daily updates regarding the status of water restoration. Now, many residents in Abaco and Grand Bahama lost everything due to the ravage of Hurricane Dorian. And in this report, an elderly woman shares her story of how she struggled to stay alive during this monstrous storm. Italia Hall reports.
Residents Evangelina Jolly says she lost everything during Hurricane Dorian, and she's not sure how she will replace her belongings.
This morning I saw a lot of seaweed in my yard and everything like that, but when I went to open the door, everything is flying out. Water, fridge, stove, everything on the ground. I think I gotta say, well, God, thank you for my life. Life is important to me. Things, I like to have my things back, but I feel that I'm living. But it's not with me. A lot of my friends, neighbors, nobody got nothing.
What area do you live in?
I live in Freeport Ridge.
Were you told to evacuate from that area?
Yes, I did, and I did evacuate.
Where did you go, and what was that experience like?
I went to Castaway Hotel. I pack a small bottle, and I move into Castaway, and I spend the little I had from Friday to this morning. So now I'm sure I don't have nowhere to go right now.
You have any friends and family that can assist you?
Of course I have family who could assist me. I know. I got my son. And all I could think to is look to God. He merciful and he would do something for us. That's the only thing I can think about right now. I have my mind focusing. I've been seeing hurricane in Grand Bahama since I was living in Freeport Ridge. That's make my 3rd hurricane. But I have never experienced nothing like this. This hurricane wouldn't move from Grand Bahama, and that's what concerned me.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Thank you so much, Italia, and that is going to do it for us here in the North. Once again, we have more continued coverage on Hurricane Dorian, and so we will see you at 8 o'clock for a special report. I'm Shoshana Wolf-Farquharson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make it a great one.